Hello and welcome to Soul in Balance. My name's Alesha and I'll be bringing you a report on the full moon in Gemini that'll be happening on the 23rd of November at 4:39 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Now this full moon is all about the way we're connecting, the way we're communicating, as it is working in correlation with the Mercury retrograde, as Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So this full moon is a little bit interesting, and it is touching on how we're connecting to others, how we're connecting to ourselves, how we're connecting to the truth, and what we need to let go of to move forward and expand in the truth. So stay tuned and I'll bring you the report. Okay, so full moon in Gemini. Now this full moon is actually quite interesting. So like all full moons, it's about releasing. So at this full moon, we need to be releasing old ways of connecting, old ways of communicating, and especially in the way of how we learn and we take on knowledge and how we collect our knowledge. It really is a time to let go of old conditioning and old ways we've been taught about learning and communicating and connecting. And we need to be going to the opposite side where the sun is in Sagittarius and looking at the perspective from the truth, our higher knowledge, and then growing from that point. So over with the sun, we have Jupiter and Mercury retrograde. So as I said just before, the ruler of this full moon will be Mercury retrograde, which is Gemini. So the best thing to do with any retrograde planet is to find where it falls in your chart. So where Mercury is in your chart, and that's where you will be affected at this time. And also check where this full moon is in Gemini to see where else you'll be affected as well, as this will be the major theme, the Mercury Gemini theme. But what is actually really amazing about this full moon is it's actually joining the Pleiades constellation and the Pleiades main star, which is Alesha, which is really, really interesting, as you know, the Pleiades is, you know, helps us evolve. That we have many star seeds on the planet that are helping us evolve. So I feel like at this new moon, we are all kind of being triggered to, you know, activate our spiritual warrior, our star seed warrior, and to help bring about the change that we're needing, especially in communication and how we're seeing the world and how we're seeing the truth. So adding to the interesting effect of this full moon in Gemini is the kite, and this is making aspects from the grand trine. Now this full moon is going to be quite emotional. It's really going to be digging deep into our emotions. You know, Gemini is fairly light-hearted. It is an air sign. It likes to just mentally connect, but as it's making aspects out to Chiron and Pisces and Cancer North Node, it is really digging up nurturing and healing. So at this time, we really need to be trusting our emotions and trusting how we feel, trusting our intuition. Yes, we're having a lot of breakthroughs. Everything's fairly light-hearted, and you know, there's a lot of expansive energy going on, and we're all positive and we're moving forward, but we need to be taking precautions. Are we listening to our emotions? Are we trusting how we feel? And you know, don't find it weird if you are having feelings of, hey, you know, 1 minute I'm really happy and I'm moving forward and I'm accomplishing all my goals, and then next minute it's just like all these childhood woundings coming up, or you know, wounding from a past relationship, or you know, something of that effect, as we are having to, you know, deal with both ends of the spectrum. We are having to heal those emotions and go into our core wounding. And usually, you know, because the North Node is in Cancer, it is about wounding around the mother, how we weren't nurtured and how we need to nurture ourselves now, how we need to heal from that aspect. And we're healing generations and generations of not getting that nurturing because, you know, emotions weren't valid. They weren't classed as necessary in the patriarchy and generations of this lifestyle. So, you know, don't just blame it on your parental figures for this life. This is something that has been going on for a really long time, as women weren't allowed to be in their feminine. They weren't allowed to have their feelings. They weren't allowed to be this nurturing source. So we're really needing to have a look at it from all aspects, but then heal it on a human level. Like I said last video, it's really important to have a soul view and see, you know, the generations and generations of trauma and how you did choose these parents, but it's also important that we heal it on a human level, that we feel it and grieve over it on a human level. So I feel like with this kite and this grand trine, it's really bringing up that old stuff and also giving us the knowledge and the information we need and the truth we need to heal that and to move forward from that, and then to let go of our old teachings, our old learnings, our old communicating and our old understanding, especially with Venus retrograde ending and then Mercury retrograde right now being, you know, the main aspect of this full moon. So it really is about that communication and understanding in healing. So I thought I'd read the Sabian symbol for the degree of this full moon, as it is a little bit interesting, and it is joining the main Pleiades star. So at this degree, which is 1 degree of Gemini, the meaning for this degree is: a glass-bottomed boat reveals undersea wonders. Keynote: the revelation of unconscious energies submerge psychic structures. So to me, I feel like that represents what's being uncovered at this time. So if you can imagine a boat and, you know, being out in the seas, our emotions, and having a glass bottom boat, it's being able to see through our emotions, see the truth and see what's real, because so much is hidden under the sea, like there's another world under the sea. So at this time, we're having so many revelations and so much insight into what's really going on and how we're really feeling. So at this time, you know, spend some time going through what's true for you and what makes sense and what feels right. Really trust your feelings with what's coming up right now. So I thought I'd do a card reading and get a card for this full moon in Gemini, as it is pretty magical and it is good to get another little bit of connection and information and a message from the universe. So yes, I'll just pull 1 card. I usually only ever pull 1 card. I feel like Liberation. Breaking free from negative attachments. So if we haven't done that already through the Venus retrograde, and like I said last video, we'll probably get it through this Mercury retrograde. But what I was just going to say is, yeah, I only pick 1 card. I feel like we live on so many, you know, multiple dimensions, and the past and the future is constantly changing and living simultaneously. So I don't do card readings that are past, present, future anymore. I kind of just get 1 card for the moment. So the card for the moment is liberation. So we really need to be liberating ourselves from our old truths, from our old learning, from our old connections, from our old communication, and move forward in a new direction, in a way that is of service to this planet. And I'll read the card meaning just so you've got a little bit of extra information, because you can never have too much information on a Mercury and Gemini full moon. So liberation, breaking free from a negative attachment. You have become too emotionally attached or dependent on someone or something, or you have allowed or inevitably caused someone to get too emotionally attached to you. What first seemed like a healthy friendship or interest now seems to be taking over your life or creating too much codependence. A situation that initially seemed like a positive now has revealed its negative side. This is in effect like a form of addiction. You are advised to examine this issue and then create some space between you. For the sake of yourself and the sake of others, you must do whatever it takes to break free from this negative emotional attachment. Initially, this may cause some resentment and even a sense of panic, but the end result will be worth it. When you manage to emotionally detach yourself from this issue, you will have learnt a valuable lesson, and this will serve you well in the future. So I think this also, yeah, goes along with the Venus retrograde and how, you know, we're ending relationships right now. And it is across the board, but there is a major focus on intimate relationships. But it is, you know, with family members, it could be that you have to just detach and say, no, this is too toxic. I can't be part of this situation. You really need to be coming into, you know, self-love and honoring your worth and honoring your feelings. And it could be at work as well. You could be dealing with somebody at work who, you know, it's not, you know, being in your self-worth or loving yourself or valuing your intuition by associating with this person. It could be a friend, it could be a neighbor, it could be, you know, anyone in your, you know, general scope. So, you know, if this resonates with you, I do suggest that you do start to distance yourself or take a break from anyone where there is toxicity, especially when there's too much emotional attachment. We really need to be reviewing, you know, these attachments. Like, they can be transformed into something that is more of a positive, but when we have things like trauma bonds or, you know, like negative addictions to people, it's usually from some degree of childhood wounding. So we need to be going back into that childhood wounding, which usually once we start working on the childhood wounding, you'll find that it just flows out to have more healthier connections, and those old toxic connections just seem to fall by the wayside. So yeah, at this time we really need to be looking at liberation, freeing ourselves from the past, freeing ourselves from toxic connections, freeing ourselves from old information that's not true or correct or doesn't resonate with us. So the last few weeks have been actually a breath of fresh air. The expansive energy of Jupiter going into Sagittarius has been amazingly uplifting. We've been, you know, getting our goals out there, getting our dreams out there, accomplishing what we want, you know, moving forward with our new ideas. And it's been absolutely amazing just having that positive influence come through has helped out a lot, especially as we've had the sun go through Scorpio and we've had Venus retrograde that has been so dense emotionally, mentally, you know, radical change. It's been quite traumatic, you know, all our stuff being dug up and shown in our faces. So to have this expansive energy come through has just been amazing and so uplifting. And with the sun joining Jupiter as well, it's just going to further that. And another little piece of cool information is that when the sun joins Jupiter, it is classed as a lucky day. So on the 25th of November, it is classed as a very lucky day, especially because Jupiter is in the home sign of Sagittarius. So the best thing to do, I believe, and what I'll be doing myself, is putting forward your goals, your desires, your wishes. You know, it could be telling that person that you've always liked that you love them, or it could be buying a lottery ticket, or it could be, you know, launching a new business idea. Whatever it is, get it out there. On the 25th of November, it's an extremely lucky day. So, you know, get your heart's desires out into the world. So I'll quickly go over the other planetary aspects and I'll explain what it all means after. So we have the continuation of the Grand Trine, and we've got two kites coming off that Grand Trine. We have a continuation of the Cardinal Cross and Grand Square. We have Chiron in Pisces that is in conjunct Venus that is now direct in Libra. We've got Mars that's in Pisces that is squaring the Sun and Jupiter. We have Neptune in Pisces that is squaring out to Mercury retrograde, and we have Uranus, which is retrograde, in conjunct the Sun that's in Sagittarius. So there's a lot of aspects going on, and I'll explain what it all means. So we have a lot of aspects that are a continuation of the last few weeks. So we've been feeling that energy for a couple of weeks now, which is the transformation, which is the new revelations and new directions, endings and beginnings, you know, healing in our feelings coming to the surface, you know, lots of spiritual connections coming through, lots of realizations. But one of the aspects that I would really like to touch on is Mars that's in Pisces right now, which is representing the spiritual warrior. And I also feel like the degree of where this full moon is also about the spiritual warrior. It's about our starseed activation and moving forward and being a truth seeker. So Mars in Neptune, with Neptune in Pisces, can also be bringing about this spiritual warrior, you know, highlighting and bringing about that desire to bring about what's right, bring about the healing and bring about the universal law in a way. But it also can be delusion. So we can also be, you know, heading down a track of escapism and being absolutely delusional, you know, like we could be going out and trying to escape and going out drinking or going out partying or, you know, involving ourselves in relationships with people just to escape, or especially intimate relationships with the Venus retrograde that's been going on, and, you know, wanting to, you know, connect with someone on such a deep level. And then we're kind of not realizing that we're kind of in the fog and we're not realizing who we're connecting with. And with Mars in Pisces, we really can be seeing, you know, people just going into really like delusional states of, hey, you know, like this is really fun, this is really making me happy, you know, don't worry about all the tough stuff that's going on, I'm just going to follow down this rabbit hole. And, you know, after Mars goes through, it's going to be like, whoa, you know, what the hell was that? What was I thinking? You know, why did I go and escape down there? Why was I with this person? Why did I go and do all these things? So at this time, we can be seeing Mars get into, you know, a bit of a lost state. Mars isn't really at home in Pisces. Mars is kind of in a bit of a detriment. Not that I like to use the word detriment, but I do like to look at the positive, which is the spiritual warrior, which is bringing about the universal law, bringing about spirituality and coming from an unconditional level. But then it also can be delusion and deceit and not really seeing what's the truth. And as this Mars is making aspects out to the Sun and Jupiter, and was also will be making aspects out to Mercury retrograde, we can be seeing that you know, this is causing a bit of tension. We can be, you know, like going against the truth, going against what we need, going against our heart. So be careful at this time and make sure that you're actually listening to your feelings, not just escaping down a rabbit hole or, you know, getting head over heels over somebody or something along those lines. Just make sure you're kind of using that rational thought, as it is really easy to get lost in this right now. There is so much expansive energy going on with Jupiter in Sagittarius and now the Sun in Sagittarius, and even Mercury retrograde is still expanding on the truth, expanding on wisdom, and, you know, going to foreign lands and doing something cool and traveling, and in a way it is kind of, you know, getting on your horse and escaping. So we need to really be careful at this time not to get too carried away in all the optimism. And I don't want to sound like a downer, because it has been like really tough the last few months, but just be cautious. Like, be cautious where you're going. Are you wearing rose-colored glasses? You know, heart-shaped glasses. I know I personally wear them myself, but just be careful. Like, you know, is this really what you want? Is it serving your heart? Pay attention to your emotions. Pay attention to your intuition. So important right now. So there are quite a number of aspects going on at this full moon. But yes, it is a continuation of that feeling that we've been feeling the last few weeks, even the last couple of months. There's just so much change going on the planet. We're really kind of being called just to wake up. And with this degree of the full moon being on the Pleiades, you know, major star, it is really highlighting that we need to be waking up. We really need to be activating, you know, our internal warrior, our spiritual warrior, our truth seeker. We need to be letting go of what isn't resonating. Like, what have we been learning over the years that isn't real, that isn't true, that we've just believed it because our parents have told us, or society has told us, or our schools have told us, or, you know, movies even. You know, what can we let go of that isn't the truth, that doesn't resonate with us anymore? What can drop drop off, what can go now. And we really are being called to be that light being, to be our higher selves, to come from a place of so much more wisdom. So at this time, especially because, you know, Mercury and Gemini is about communicating, you know, it's about connecting, it's about, you know, writing, typing, anything got to do with communication. It really is a great time to be communicating what you would like to release, what isn't serving you anymore, whether you write it on a piece of paper or go out to the full moon and burn it, or, you know, rip it up and, you know, do something, whatever it is that you like to do. Write it down, voice it, do something at this full moon to communicate what you're ready to let go of. It really is a full moon of, you know, connecting in a proper way, connecting to our heart, connecting to our truth, connecting to our higher selves, and moving forward in that direction. And if you are majorly into star seeds and, you know, the Pleiades and any kind of, you know, extraterrestrial beings, this is such a great time to be connecting to that part of yourself and connecting to others that are also like-minded in the same area. I know myself, I have Chiron on this degree of this full moon, and I definitely feel like I am from that Pleiades constellation. I am here healing and bringing about the change on this planet, and it might be the same for you as well. So if you do resonate with that, this is really a great time to activate all that inside you and start moving forward from that higher place, the place that the Pleiadians are from, that extraterrestrial higher knowledge that we just don't kind of have here on this dense 3D planet. So yes, at this time, it is a fantastic time to connect to our truth. It might not always be a great time at this time to be connecting to others, but it's a great time to be coming in and connecting to ourselves, healing ourselves, especially with the North Node in Cancer, bringing up our childhood issues, bringing up what the nurturing that we need, to do for ourselves to move forward. So we really need to be coming in and connecting to those feelings, connecting to those emotions, and connecting to ourselves, and learning new ways of communicating with ourselves. I know even myself personally, like since the last few weeks and the last few months, I've really picked up on how I'm talking to myself and what I'm saying to myself. So I don't know if anyone else is feeling like that too, but really pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. Your communication with yourself is so important, and we just get off track sometimes. You don't realize how often we're putting ourselves down in our internal dialogue, how often we're going against our feelings and against ourselves and putting ourselves down, and then next thing we're in situations and scenarios that just aren't what we want, and it's all because we're replaying the same tapes. And that's the thing, like, this communication is from our subconscious, which is like an old tape player going round and round and round, and it really has no truth to it. It's just little bits and pieces that you picked up growing up. And realistically, your life as a child and people who told you certain things, whether it's your parents or society, they're not correct about your life. They're not correct about who you are. So we really need to be, you know, deleting and re-recording these old subconscious tapes. So at this time, you know, it could be one of the things that you decide to do is to reprogram this subconscious playing. And when you catch yourself doing it, like, don't even be angry at yourself. Let that thought go through and just be like, thanks for sharing. All right, I'm going to rewrite that and then put something better in place, and then keep reminding yourself. Even doing EFT and tapping also helps with confirming that new information. It's like reprogramming. So even try some, you know, holistic approaches to it, because there are so many great ways of reprogramming old programs that really don't serve and really need to go. They're not even valid anymore. But anyway, that is my take on the full moon in Gemini. So I hope you all have a fantastic full moon. Many soul journey blessings, and I'll see you soon.